The Boston Tea Party is the name that history has given to an event that at the time was called the destruction of the tea. The familiar story that we all know has to do with a tyrannical tax on imported tea imposed by the British without the consent of the American colonists. But there's more to it than that. Americans drank a lot of tea in the 1700s. Most of it was smuggled from the Dutch. English tea was very expensive because of the high import duties that the British government collected on it. In 1767, the giant global British East India Company lobbied Parliament to exempt them from the tax for tea exported to America. This gave Americans access to cheaper tea, but the company still had to pay taxes on tea that stayed in England, where they continued to be undercut by smugglers. The company was in trouble and lobbied Parliament to bail them out. The Tea Act of 1773 allowed the East India Company to export directly to America through their own exclusive agents, bypassing small merchants while adding a 3 pence per pound tax. So the Tea Act of 1773 did impose yet another tax on the colonists without their consent, but it also gave the East India Company a monopoly on tea in America. The Tea Act stole the tea trade away from small merchants and benefited the powerful East India Company, whose stockholders included many members of Parliament and the King. Trade policy set by a global empire to favor a transnational corporation, make money for stockholding lawmakers, which penalized small merchants and American citizens who had no voice in the matter. This is what led to the destruction of the tea in Boston Harbor. So here I am, a new Massachusetts resident named Adams, and my birthday is on February 22nd, same as George Washington's. I'm going to go to the Boston Tea Party and add my voice to the rabble. I'm hoping to convey to the citizens of this province something about the significance of the Boston Tea Party in today's world, about unrestrained corporate power, about free trade, and about the destructive policies of today's undemocratic global tyrant, the World Trade Organization. So I'm not going as a reenactor, I'm going to the Boston Tea Party as a reenactivist. I'm bringing some pamphlets, Time for Another Tea Party, that offer 12 reasons to oppose the World Trade Organization. Hopefully, the citizens of this province will perceive the connection between a quaint, benign, historic recreation and a very dangerous worldwide economic crisis that's going on now. I was delighted to learn that a reenactment of the Tea Party would take place at the Old South Meeting House. Today it's a museum. They have a website which describes Old South as a haven for free speech and assembly for over 250 years. Today's Old South has no pastor or minister, but they do have a director of sales and marketing who told me that unless I was from the professional news media, I could not videotape the reenactment. But it doesn't matter, because this traditional colonial tri-corner hat is the perfect place to conceal a little video camera. And this, not very historically accurate, but kind of colonial-looking navy peacoat, is the perfect place to conceal a pair of stereo microphones. They look like little fuzzy buttons. So I'm 6'4", so the view is going to be kind of high, but you'll get to see what the Boston Tea Party looks like from the top of a tri-corner hat. Can I give you a bill?
Yes, that's fine.
Would you be willing to take my picture for me?
Sure. Where are you coming from?
It's not where I'm coming from, it's where I'm going.
Where are you going?
To the Boston Tea Party. On December 16th, 1773, 5,000 people came to the South Meeting House in Boston to debate the issue of the tea.
Would you happen to know where the Four Seasons Hotel is?
I'm sorry, I don't. 3 ships full of it were sitting in the harbor, and the colonists were refusing to offload it and pay the tax. There had been meetings going on for weeks, and this was the final meeting. Is this the appointed time?
Yes, sir.
If you're dressed in colonial costume, you get in free. Visitors here are being offered a debate card in a choice of loyalist or patriot.
I'm a patriot.
Each has a scripted bit so you can participate. I got something for a patriot blacksmith to say.
How are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
Things expected to start on time tonight?
I think so.
I can see reenactors are distributed all throughout the hall, and they probably are prepared with lines to speak.
Would you be kind enough to take my picture?
My small insurrection is going to be merely to be a little off script. I'm sure no one's going to mind, since the Old South Meeting House organization advocates for and educates about free speech.
Jeff Adams.
Jeff Adams?
Yeah.
Okay, a relative?
No, sadly not. Where does most of the action take place?
Oh, well, you'll see all these people that are dotted about here.
Yeah.
They mostly have, well, a lot of them have speaking parts. And you can get up and speak against for or against it if you like. No, I don't know, did they give you something to say on the way in?
Yeah,
Oh,
I can think of some things to say,
Okay,
too.
well, beautiful, and get up and say it.
Do you know where the bathroom is here?
My goal is also to fit in. I'm thinking that people would get very nervous around an aggressive and vocal activist, especially at a patriotic recreation like this. I'm going to try to be civil and genteel, but worked up over the tea, like the other reenactors. My goal is to be recognized by the moderator and speak my piece.
That the duty imposed by Parliament upon tea landed in America is a tax on the Americans without their consent.
Here's the moderator.
Secondly, that a virtuous and steady opposition to the ministerial plan of governing America is absolutely necessary to preserve even the shadow of liberty.
Probably first, a lot of the actors with parts are going to talk.
The customs collector, Mr. Richard Harrison, conferred with his superior.
That's Francis Roch. He's the captain of the Dartmouth, one of the ships with tea, and they're going to ask him to go back to the governor to make one final appeal to send the ships back to England with the tea intact.
The issue here is greater than the 3 pence tax.
Here's Dr. Warren.
We must demand our right to representation.
Governors have no right to seek and take what they please.
And now Samuel Adams.
Instead of being content with their assigned station, they instead become absolute masters, despots, and tyrants!
Now the moderator is going to open the floor to debate, and people in the audience can read their debate cards.
I am the carpenter. I am a member of the Sons of Liberty. I say that the king is a tyrant, and he must be stopped.
They're doing a great job debating this. They're really committed.
I believe we must continue with our fight until our voices are heard and the king takes us seriously.
We don't want her tea, her taxes, or her government.
I hope they're this committed to opposing tyranny in its modern form.
Do you think 13 small colonies can go to war against the largest empire and the most powerful army in the world?
I hope they see that big corporations like the East India Company have more of a voice in government now than they do. And I hope they would do something about it.
Violence may be terrible, but tyranny is worse.
I hope they're this committed to human rights issues in today's world.
Sometimes laws are wrong. People are willing to fight to change them.
Well, I can't speak for them.
Are there any others in the assembly who wish to speak tonight? Come now, this is such a momentous occasion.
I would like to speak.
Sir?
I am concerned that regardless of what we do here tonight, that what is happening could be of great concern centuries from now. This is an issue of the British Parliament making decisions, creating policies that benefit a huge multinational corporation and take business away from the small merchants. I'm concerned for the future of this province.
Sir, we're debating the matter of the tea tonight.
I think this is a matter of the tea.
Debating the matter of global conquest. Please be seated.
This meeting can do no more to save the country!
I'm going to ask Sam Adams what happens next.
What happens now? Does the tea go in the harbor?
Yes, it does. So everybody's going down to the harbor.
What you said, I mean, it's a sad day when politics goes completely out of American history.
I know, if people are willing to do this for something that happened 200 years ago, why aren't they willing to do this for something that's happening now?
Because now it's oral tradition. All this is it's no different than the tribal elders putting on masks and dancing around a fire, reenacting the hunt of 1,000 years ago.
But there are things happening now that are worse than what the British East India Company did.
I'm quite aware of that. That's why I'm shaking your hand.
Yeah.
Remember, too, part of this, to bring the living history community together, is that we are very much a family, but we're members that all have different opinions. So, in order, when you live on a ship, for example, you got to be a good shipmate.
Now that the tea has been destroyed, it's time for me to act. I'm going to hand out pamphlets with my 12 reasons to oppose the World Trade Organization.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Think about the meaning of what you saw tonight. Thank you. Here, take that home and read it. Read this and think about what's happening in the world today. Think about tonight's event and read that tonight.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm glad you spoke up.
Thank you.
I'm going to give some pamphlets to the reenactors, too.
I said what I wanted to say, but I'm also pamphleteering.
Okay, fine.
You accept pamphlets, gentlemen?
I haven't finished
You
it
accept a pamphlet tonight?
Well, thank you.
Good job, gentlemen. You accept a pamphlet?
Boston Harbor, a tea party.
Tea?
No, a teapot tonight.
Thank you. Good work tonight, gentlemen. Good work.
Thank you. Oh, of course, of course. Northumberland. Time for another teapot.
Thank you. Thank you for the great music. Well, my work here is done. I've offered a virtuous opposition to the ministerial plan of the World Trade Organization, hopeful to preserve more than just a shadow of liberty.
Dump the tea in the harbor.
We did.
I know.
Were you there? What did you think?
It was so much fun.
It was
So-
very
It was
instructive.
so much fun.
What would you dump in the harbor today?